Welcome back to the European Road to BlizzCon 2015 for Heroes of the Storm, and it is time for the semi-finals. And I say that in an excited voice, A, because it's exciting, and B, because this is the point where if you win one of these semi-finals, you make it, of course, to the finals of this tournament, but one of two guaranteed spots at BlizzCon next month, where you'll be playing for a massive purse and the chance to be world champion. But there is a big game ahead of you. Best of 5. 2 teams are going to fight it out. Let's meet the first team. Please welcome, let's hear you go crazy for ROCCAT! So ROCCAT look there, who looked merciless when they played in the group stages. They're pretty much one of the best teams in the world at the moment, but they are taking on a team that so far seem to be able to do no wrong. They are tough. They made mincemeat of their last opponent. So please welcome to the stage, Dignitas! So there we go, our 2 teams fighting out for a place in the finals, and more importantly, a place at BlizzCon. This, of course, is the road to BlizzCon. Any mistake will be punished. It is a best of 5. So let's get ready to brawl, Chobra!
We are finally here at the match that it really all culminates to. Yes, there is a finals awaiting. Yes, we get to crown a European champion. But ever since the game was born, ever since these players booted up, whether it was an alpha, beta, or even on release, they said, I want to go to BlizzCon. Well, here's your chance. One best of 5 standing in the way for both of these teams. What are we looking at? ROCCAT versus Dignitas.
Man, Team ROCCAT is a team that you always have to count in when it goes for the big standings and the big results. They might not, distinguish themselves from other teams in terms of flashy plays, in terms of shining personalities, but they can bring the performance when it really matters.
Yeah, I think their talent picks are a little bit different usually. They don't follow the meta too much. You can see they draw a lot of strength from their discussions among them. Sokka himself, I know him to be a kind of a strategical mastermind in StarCraft 2. I learned a lot of what I know about StarCraft 2 thanks to Sokka. He always has a lot of deep thinking about the game, so it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, to see that kind of culminating here in this game.
Yeah, but their hyper-strategic style brings a lot of passive defensive play. They always try to wait to see what their opponents are up to, and in turn, that is sometimes punished by aggression. So Dignitas, a little bit known for their superior team fighting over a lot of their opponents, stylistically, I actually prefer them in this matchup.
Yeah, as soon as you mentioned that, I wanted to bring that up because, of course, as we've been talking about, Dignitas said themselves, Bakery said, well, yeah, we were kind of designed where we were like, we want to take Team Liquid down, we want to bring something new. And when you say, well, ROCCAT a little bit passive, it's like, well, Dignitas, maybe this is your chance to once again prove that, yeah, we can also exploit that weakness from you guys too against Team ROCCAT.
Let's not forget, though, those 2 teams faced each other during the 3rd qualifier already, and this actually ROCCAT beat them 2-1. So even though Dignitas is on a roll, as I said, ROCCAT definitely a team that can make things happen.
On the other hand, ROCCAT has advanced without any match losses. Yeah. They have lost some battlegrounds, but they have won both of their matches. Although, on the other side, Dignitas, while they did lose a match, they did have an arguably more difficult group.
Yeah, Group A was stacked. There's no denying how stacked Group A was. And, even though they fell there, they did place 2nd or 3rd in their group, excuse me.
Yeah, so Yeah, second, coming in second, of course, from that lower bracket. But, I mean, the way Dignitas played today, though, right? It was a little bit different. They seemed a lot more confident. Sure, they still had to go to a full 3-game match in a best of 3. But the way they won the games they won were convincing. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, really, anyone could have taken that. It was like, no, Dignitas just pretty much played better than Team Liquid, which could be a shocker to some fans, but here they are.
It's going to be very interesting to see how well Dignitas do against ROCCAT, who in some points actually resemble Team Liquid. They too have seasoned StarCraft 2 veterans in their rank. They too play very strategically, very map objective oriented. So can they repeat their success from before?
And it turns out to be a very successful formula, having StarCraft 2 players. Just now in Korea, actually.
Yeah.
Team DK won 4-2 in the Korean Championships. They will be going to BlizzCon against MVP Black. And they have StarCraft 2 greats like Noblesse SC.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, we're seeing a trend here, and here is the Storm. Some veteran StarCraft 2 players coming in.
I'm also seeing some bias on the panel right now.
Well, I don't know about me. But, you know, but part of that is coming from the fact that, you know, even sure, I mean, there are just blazing differences too. The fact that StarCraft 2 is 1v1, this is a team game, you have to work in that communication. But like you guys said, the fact that, first of all, both games do rely on strategy, and then from there on, how do you work around the fact that you have different battlegrounds and Heroes of the Storm, you have different maps in StarCraft 2. A lot of this could come into play where if you have 1 or 2 of those players who can bring in the mindset, and then you have the talent for Heroes of the Storm coming in from the rest of the team, maybe that is a recipe for success as we're looking at the first year here for Heroes of the Storm. Very exciting stuff. Now, so far today, we've seen some trends in all of our matches, regardless of team, right? Karasim has kind of been the go-to healer for many of these. Of course, Leoric and Joanna also haven't gone anywhere. Do you think we're going to see anything different now that it's also a best of 5? There's a potential to see way more Battlegrounds.
Well, you know what we haven't seen, which we just saw in the Korean finals, is we saw Butcher being played. We saw Sergeant Hammer being played.
Brightwing.
And Brightwing, and one game it was Butcher and Sergeant Hammer on one team. It didn't work.
But it happened. That's the important part. So, I mean, in this one, now let's talk a little bit about the difference then in the fact that it's a best of 5. That you have to accept that you're gonna most likely play a more diverse pool of Battlegrounds, and you have to be a little bit better prepared. Do you think that comes into play in how they go about the drafting?
Well, I mean, considering we've seen all the standard Battlegrounds so far this weekend, this is when pocket strats come into play, for sure. Haunted Mines, sometimes Blackheart's Bay. There's a lot of cool strategies that are specific. Now, it's cool too because a battleground like Haunted Mines, suddenly Sylvanas becomes a top tier pick. The power she has when it comes to pushing with her Grave Golem, it also shifts the hero pool in terms of what you prioritize. So there's a lot of crazy cool mind games that come out in those kind of situations.
And I also think in terms of talents, we might see some shifts. If you think of Garden of Terror, for example, a Kharazim that goes for Soothing Breeze can actually cleanse the Garden Terror's overgrowth. So
that's Spore Queen Curse, the polymorph, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that could be that could be really interesting to see. I mean, we've been talking about that also. I mean, sure, we've seen some interesting heroic choices too. I mean, the one that everyone's been bringing up is that combo between the Butcher and Falstad. Will we see anything like that again? We'll have to wait and see. But if we're gonna see it, probably in a game where it's like, do I get to fly to Anna later this year? I would say if you have something up your sleeves, this is the match you want to bring it out in.
Now, do we actually think that the teams that have made it this far have hidden something away?
That's another good point.
Like it's not like like Na'Vi maybe. Na'Vi is 4-0.
True.
The other teams are like 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, and then lost one, and then so it's like if they have the daring and the preparation to actually prepare this deep into the tournament, like let's hope we pass the group phase, and here's all our strats for that day, and here's page 2 of our strategies, and that's for if we meet ROCCAT, for instance.
Yeah, it is hard to imagine someone who like a team who has that much time and effort to plan for all these different scenarios. Also, just given the flexibility of the current state of the game, right? Here's a Storm.
But it does happen though. Like I know in my own tournaments that I played, like sometimes I prepared for all 31 opponents in a 32-man tournament. Just try to get a little bit of dirt on everybody. See what they're weak against.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find that, that's a huge benefit. But at the same time, I think what you bring up a good point is, for instance, like Dignitas, they had to kind of claw their way back in to the semifinal.
Yeah, and when we think of crazy matches, intense matches, we think of ROCCAT because during qualifiers number 3, they managed to get first place with an exceptionally cool game by Hazwabs on the Abathur, who managed to, sort of introduce that crazy combat rush to the enemy core. I remember that just like it was yesterday. So I think ROCCAT could be up for something here.
I mean, both these teams have more than enough potential to take the victory here. I think a lot of people are saying Dig, they're the favorites, but actually yesterday, I think a lot of people were doubting ROCCAT's ability to go through that qualifier
G2
because
right now.
Right? I mean, their matchup versus Fnatic was, I mean, it went down to the very end. It was super close, and all of these teams are so evenly paired. It's quite insane.
Yeah, the fact that, not to go back and kind of put salt in the wounds for the players and the fans, but we're already looking at the fact that Team Liquid's no longer here. They don't have a chance to go to BlizzCon.
Right.
Virtus Pro also no longer here. Not a chance to go there. Same goes for their opponents. G2, they came in here, but others, Pirates and Pajamas, they got to the groups and then they just got completely shut down in Group A. We're looking at that and saying, okay, it was a lot more even than we thought. I mean, sure, earlier in the summer, I was like, yeah, Team Liquid. Virtus Pro went to all these international tournaments, but then came to the European Championships, like, oh, well, yeah, right, Navi's now probably the favorite, and then we've got Fnatic, like, what's going on with Fnatic? Lots of big questions here.
Look at the last series, G2. Nobody expected them to win against Virtus Pro, and they made it.
Yeah, I mean, they're here now, so that was the other big thing, is that, you could statistically call that a bit of an upset, especially given how the game played out yesterday, that G2 making it this far. Well, they pulled whatever they needed to, whatever strength they needed to get to the semifinal.
I mean, even mentally, coming back after losing 2 games 4-0 in that, like we said, the rematch that we just saw, that is just a phenomenal win there for G2.
Yeah. So now, then in this one, ROCCAT versus Dig, you guys mentioned, if we're going to see anything crazy, maybe possibly on the side of ROCCAT. Abathur was mentioned. I want to pick your brain on a little bit more on that. We saw some Abathur bans today, but we haven't really seen Abathur being picked up. Is that partly due to the Battlegrounds too? Or do you think it's obviously Abathur also a kind of tricky hero to pick early, right? You have to wait and see if it's going to work out.
That's not how the Korean metagame thinks about it, right? Like, just now in the finals of the Koreans, like, they went for Abathur and Illidan in the first and second pick.
Right.
Illidan, another hero we don't see that much in Europe anymore. He's mechanically a very difficult hero. And Koreans are known for their excellent and perfected mechanics. So haven't seen a lot of Illidan, even though you apparently can take him first and second. Like, I'm getting so used to the metagame here that we forget that, like, there's a lot more options and strategical possibility than we've seen so far.
Honestly,
today.
I thought Blackscore would maybe pull it out because he also has been known to be a fabulous Illidan player.
Yeah,
but he's not making it.
Yeah, so no chance to see Blackscore playing Illidan today, but will we see more Illidan again? Like you mentioned, I think that's the other thing, is that what we're noticing is, yes, there are these regional differences, but even within Europe, we keep talking about team differences too, because if you're that confident, it's like everyone else says it's not good to pick it first in the meta, but hey, you can make it work.
Well, speaking of regional differences, you might see regional inspiration. I mean, back in the NA Championships, we saw Cognitive running a no warrior composition. And I've talked to quite a few of the teams here this weekend that all thought that was one of the most interesting, coolest things they've seen in a while. So they've definitely studied it. They've definitely tried it themselves and done it in practice. So we could see that busted out. It's like Illidan with Tassadar, Brightwing, Abathur. It's a very specific style of play. But now that it's been shown off to the world, I mean, maybe it's a bit more risky to try to attempt.
I mean, it's definitely not an easy feat, but something like that where you're like, all right, well, we have a player who's really good at Illidan. Why don't we just all in on that for one game, make it work, and then think about the rest of a best-of series? That's definitely a strategy that both these teams could work on, and it looks like they're all huddled and trying to figure out what they're going to do. First Battleground will be Tomb of the Spider Queen, so pretty familiar at this point in the tournament. Definitely, in some senses, more standard in the fact that we do have the 3 lanes and the objectives. It's a little bit more drawn out and over the course of the game.
So we see the Johanna removal there and the Uther removal. I kind of like Uther removals, not from a strategical standpoint, but the fact that there's no Uther in the game, which often gives like a very powerful advantage to the Uther team that they can pick some melee assassins. So we're gonna have like some sustain healers, and it's gonna be very cool to see their coordination here.
But by banning Johanna and picking up Leoric, they suddenly put the threat of Asmodee immediately on the table. This is Tomb of the Spider Queen, and that's where he really shines. When it comes to stacking the Globe of Annihilation, it's something Team Dignitas doesn't want to have to worry about.
And now Dignitas has a problem with removing Uther and giving the warrior of Leoric to the opponent. And there's the threat of an Asmodee. Normally, Asmodee gets countered either by Zeratul or Kerrigan, having a very strong early game hero who can secure kills. But those heroes, particularly Kerrigan, relies on Uther's support. So that's not an option anymore. They just took Kel'Thas. I feel like they have to take Zeratul. If you give away Zeratul and Asmodee in the next 2 picks, that could be a huge problem for Dignitas.
Way too risky.
It's funny that the moment you mentioned Asmodee, I saw Todd glaring over there. Still hoping for it.
Hey, I mean, the chances are definitely there. So there's that Zeratul that you guys were mentioning.
It makes sense. Like, you have to pick it, or you'll just be shooting yourself in the foot. So now, it doesn't mean that you can't take Asmodee, but if you do pick him, you've got to take someone who can protect against Zeratul, maybe.
Right.
Right, because that synergy, the globe hits, Zeratul blinks in,
Yeah.
and then he cleaves and wormholes out, and it's just so much burst damage into the back line that it's typically too hard to sustain through. I mean, Zeratul, just his Void Prison alone makes him such a strong hero.
Yeah, but I'm thinking even about the early game, because
Yeah.
usually when Azmodan wins early game, you win the game. So with them having Zeratul, who counters Zeratul? Kel'Thas is pretty good against him. Chain Bomb reveals him for an extended period of time, and he can Gravity Lapse. So I wonder if the Leoric team, Team ROCCAT now, goes for Muradin perhaps, with that third pick after the very obvious Jaina, who's an important damage dealer. It's actually going to be Karazim.
Jaina and Karazim, once again. Karazim, you know, he has been really one of those key factors against warrior comps that are so popular at the moment. And we see that Team Dignitas hasn't actually picked a single warrior. So
Yeah.
no matter what they pick up, Seven-Sided Strike is going to shred even the tankiest of warriors.
Now, I have a question then. On the side of ROCCAT, right? You've banned out Jaina, you took Leoric, now you have that Karazim. Do you just ban out another warrior just to really pigeonhole Dignitas into a composition where they're going to have to pick like a not as ideal warrior,
yeah.
or maybe even have to give up on that? Because the more I listen to you guys talk, the danger's now there. It's pretty real for Dignitas where it's like, shoot, we had to prioritize Zeratul. We wanted to take the Kel'Thas.
Then you could ban out Tyrael possibly, because he's not the best target for Seven-Sided Strike. You force like a Muradin. So.
Yeah, they go for Arthas. So, I mean,
yeah,
they are
okay.
sticking with that idea. I like the ban on Arthas here. It's quite smart. I mean,
So it's a warrior monopoly, a warriopoly.
A warrior play for ROCCAT.
potentially.
Let's not forget about Raynor too. Raynor, very strong in this map.
yeah.
One of the most important and dangerous ranged assassins that we have at the moment.
And again, another hero that we've seen paired frequently with Kel'Thas is Muradin. So still on the table for the Warriors.
Right.
We've seen that double lockdown have a lot of early game power here all tournament long. So that's what I would suspect to see out of Dig at this point.
But that's exactly the one you want to kill with Karazim.
True.
So there's a bit of risk there for Dignitas. They do go for that one. Need to make sure not to jump the backline too much with Muradin.
Yeah, it's going to be
Fury.
tricky. I mean, especially if the Azmodan comes in, Dignitas probably really tempted to jump into that back line, but if the Karazim's next to him, it's going to be a little tricky. Malfurion's there, though, for the style of support here for Dignitas.
Talking about Malfurion, I like this pick quite a lot. If you consider how much AoE damage Team ROCCAT potentially already has, brings to the table, Malfurion, a really good hero to keep multiple heroes alive at the same time, especially if they're warriors who won't die as easily anyway.
Wow,
Okay,
Team
so-
ROCCAT is going for the invincible comp here.
Yeah.
Very few juicy targets, and the one that is juicy, Jaina, gets
Juicy
protected
Jaina.
by 3 people. Shields from Tassadar, shields from Tyrael, and from Karazim. I'm going to ignore that one.
Yeah, heals from Karazim. Now, I mean, most likely still going for...
Whoa! Chen has been picked up for the
What
first
is-
time in this event.
That's pretty exciting. So, what's the plan here then? I mean, definitely not something that people were expecting to see at all here in the semifinal.
Ethereal Angel, a self-professed fan of Chen here, is gonna take him here. And now for Chen, he can win any lane in 1 versus 1. But whenever your buddies, your 4 versus 4 lane, if they lose the lane, that means you could be a very easy gank target. So it's going to be up to his allies to make sure he stays in that 1v1 situation.
Yeah.
So exciting to see him here. A
Yeah.
super cool warrior.
And a very, very nice story about Hero Angel. You know, we sat down in an evening and talked about him and his former, career as a player. And he actually said that he was a really good player in League of Legends. He came over to Hero of the Storm, tried out Chen, and thought that hero was OP until
Until people told him he's not. And he never got the message.
Well, but there we go. I mean, he's here. If he wins here, hey, he could change the history for Chen in a single game by making sure everyone realizes why he thought Chen was OP to begin with.
Well, one of Chen's big weaknesses is stuns. If you manage to stop him out
Yeah.
of his brew, it really does, ruin his day. But there's not really a whole lot of options available when you're running a composition that only has judgment as an interruption.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
So he's a really intelligent last pick. They don't have any option to stop his brew. His power in the lane is going to be astronomical, and I love this pickup here. This is so akin to what we saw from Cloud9 months ago when they first picked Sonya. 0 stuns on Tempo Storm's composition makes Sonya so powerful with the Whirlwind.
Yeah, so waiting for that last pick, making sure that crowd control wasn't really going to exist. And you're right. I mean, now in some ways, maybe you have to take that judgment because that's the only option you really have
I think you have to.
to take the brew out of Chen.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a situation earlier today, and they had to take judgment, and they didn't.
Right.
I think that was Team
and then we
Liquid,
saw
right?
the result of that. It didn't really go down that well. So, ladies and gentlemen, the draft is set. We do have more innovation, more craziness coming right away in game 1 of this best of 5. Chen being picked on the side of Dignitas. Once again, in case you missed it, it is on Tomb of the Spider Queen. What do you guys think? We talked a little about the characteristics of each draft, but is there really either one that's still kind of favored?
It all comes down to whether, ROCCAT can find a good way to interrupt Shen, as Jake already mentioned. And, it's sort of a weird spot because you don't get that a lot of times. You don't scrim against it necessarily.
Yeah.
And to see how they adapt is going to be really interesting.
And it's so divey. I mean, Chen flying in with a flying kick. You have Murden with Dwarf Toss and Zeratul with Blink. The way they can initiate on one target is disgusting.
You know, the cool thing is, like, 7-sided strike attacks the highest HP target. Chen and Murden share that position. But if Murden has even 10-20% damage, Chen is going to be the highest HP target.
He's
and
just
will
gonna
continue
chug it.
to be so because he's drinking
That is true.
his brew.
That's
And
interesting.
Drinking brew gives
So
him a big
smart.
shield, so he will take all
Wow.
7
Yeah.
hits and take no damage. So I think there's no way, 0% chance that Chen loses.
The more we think about it, the more interesting this Chen pick gets. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to jump into game 1. Bringing us the first game of this semifinal will be Caleris and Todd.
Thanks very much, guys. This is now time to determine who is going to be moving on to BlizzCon here between Team ROCCAT and Team Dignitas. And gotta say, for it all to come down to a best of 5 alone to determine just that 1 point, it's something quite special.
This is their one shot, all they ever wanted, Kaelaris, and with that Shen pick, things got very exciting very quickly here in this first map between these two teams here on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yes, they did. So let's get into proceedings. This determines who moves on here in the European Road to BlizzCon, as we have spawning to the left-hand side. It will be Team ROCCAT with Zocker playing Tyrael. Shadowmare is going to be on Karazim. We have Hasuobs on Jaina. Sports Billy is on Leoric. And finally, Chris is on Tassadar. And then to the right-hand side of Tomb of the Spider Queen, we have Team Dignitas here, as we have a pause, and it will be Athero going to be playing on Chen. Adiardi is on Kael'thas, Snitch on Zeratul, Zarmony is going to be on Muradin, and finally Bakery is going to be playing Malfurion. For the first time this tournament, he is on a different healer other than Uther or Karazim.
And ROCCAT, going into this draft, they went and picked Leoric straight away. Remember the first qualifier that we had here for the European Road to BlizzCon? They qualified in this very one of only, I guess, their Leoric pick, which brought them so much success. And it seems like they still think that Leoric is one of these top-tier heroes that can do a lot. And I think they might be right. I mean, we just saw in our previous match, Leoric really coming into play very strongly and do a lot for his team here. So I think ROCCAT, they're looking to try and repeat something similar on the map here where there's going to be a lot of fighting as well.
Yeah, it's not like too much has changed for Leoric since then. Sure, in his Undying ability, he doesn't regen as quickly, thanks to some of those talents that he's ended up taking, as well as that regen ability when he's in Undying, but he's still extremely, extremely strong. Something we should also point out at the start of this game as well is that Chen, as they mentioned on the panel, not that often seen. So we'll be focusing on some of his talents later on to kind of give you a bit more of a rundown as exactly how he can be built at even this level of play to make him work.
Yeah, heroic-wise, it's going to be interesting to see whether he goes for Earth, Wind, and Fire or Wandering Keg.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Storm, Earth, and Fire to come out. That could be something that is very, very strong on him here. But we don't see him too much outside of Dragonshire at all recently.
Yeah. Let's see, both teams here trying to set up, but the trap here is already ready for Zarmony, who's just going to dwarf toss out of there. ROCCAT, they had a very impressive showing here already in this tournament. They toppled the group where I don't think too many people would have said they were the favorites.
No, not at all. I mean, they showed up on the day. I mean, we've pointed out before, they showed up on the day, despite, in some scrims before, they weren't having the best of times, but they showed yesterday that they were really here to butt heads with people and do very, very well in their group.
That Chen pick is really cool. It's very situational as well. I feel like they were just looking at the lineup. They were like, what's the best thing that we can go for? And much like Sport Billy is always on Leoric duty, usually we have Athero Angel on Arthas duty, but now since Arthas was banned, it was like, well, I might as well go on the Shen here. And maybe it was your Lily cosplay talk that just encouraged them.
Pandas Inspired, that's what we're going to call ourselves. Pandas Inspired Inc. But For now, we're going to continue on with these 4-man roams and just make sure that they're collecting all of the globes that they can here to buff up who they need to. With Conjurer's Pursuit being taken at level 1, it's not as common a talent to be taken on Jaina anymore, but it's certainly going to help out for the later stages for that mana preservation.
Oh, Tyrell's getting caught here a little bit. Taking a bunch of damage, gonna need to be careful in this case. Was Sty Infusion here on level 1 as talent on Tassadar, so pretty standard.
Just going to back on here player for a moment. Just controlling the turning points between these two locations is very, very important. And something that also comes to play is, again, the fact that we do have Tassadar versus Zeratul. Snitch has made some plays happen on this melee assassin for quite a long time during this tournament, but he's not necessarily had to run up against Tassadar. So this is going to be a real trial here for him.
Yeah, one of the big particularities here of Snitch on the Zeratul is that a lot of the time on level 7 he picks first aids to make sure that he doesn't actually need any help from his healer, and the healer in this case can focus on other heroes. But now with the healer being Malfurion, it's actually a good opportunity for maybe going into something else. I wouldn't be surprised if he still went to first aid though here.
Regen is always certainly strong here for Malfurion, but if Malfurion gets blown up by any kind of potential from ROCCAT, that could be a disaster. Athero is guaranteed to die almost here. That's not exactly the easiest position to get out of. He's trying to drink, but he will go down. That is first blood. Good rotation around from Hasuo.
Not gonna drink his way out of this one here, and it's a good warning here already to try and be a little bit more careful, because you know, Shen, you kind of feel invincible sometimes with it, much like you do sometimes with Johanna and Leoric, but you can die if more than one hero here comes on your lane and you're not ready.
I mean, when Chen was more prevalent in the meta, he was a solo lane god for the most part. Very few heroes could ever go up against him. Nowadays, though, it's not exactly the case. We've even seen Tassadar do well against him, but at the same time, big fight breaking out here towards the mid, but they've just backed off for now.
It seems like ROCCAT, they are doing a little bit better experience-wise here with those rotations, and with being able to snipe the Chen at the bottom here, there was a little bit of experience lost for Dignitas. Not the biggest of deals though just yet, it's just a slight lead that they've got.
Yeah, not at all. Slow and steady here to begin things off as we have Snowstorm coming in also. Mental Acuity been picked up here for Tassadar as well, so he's trying to keep an eye on Zeratul whenever he can, and reducing the talent, the cooldown of that Oracle by 20 seconds is extremely powerful. And then also we have Netherwing coming in as well for Kael'thas. And usually before we used to see Gathering Power a lot, but now with Netherwind here, it means that he's able to hit his Gravity Lapse a little bit easier in some of these fights and get the good lockdown here for Team Dignitas.
It's actually incredible. Like when we did that patch notes, I always thought that Kael'thas was gonna be weaker, but it's even more picked than before nowadays with the new build, and it's actually really strong. That Gravity Lapse just goes so fast. And yeah, it's very, very strong just in general, really.
Web Weaver's already been seized here by Team ROCCAT, starting things off with a bang. And those Web Weavers will be pushing very, very soon. But
it's a pretty quick turn in.
Yeah, it is. Considering 4 minutes once again, it's very similar to the previous turn-ins that we saw from Team Liquid and Team Dignitas on Tomb of the Spider Queen before, as these Web Weavers are going to descend quite close to the walls noticeably. So down towards the bottom, this one could certainly get a lot done.
Yeah, this is already doing a lot of damage here with that wall going down. All alike, the Dignitas is staying at the top with quite a few heroes, trying to do some push of their own, but they're not going to rotate on towards to the bottom here. With the defense first in the mid, that fort is going to take so much damage, potentially even go down here.
Yep, got to clean up somehow, but Chen is not exactly the most amazingly quick member of this team to actually clean up, so the rotation comes along. He will be able to finish it off, but once again here, for Jaina, we do have the Frost Armor coming in against Zeratul. Almost always picks against Zeratul's because it does slow down his potential to actually kill you when you are normally one of the most high prioritized targets for a Zeratul.
Yeah, you're number one of that most wanted list here for Zeratul usually, because you can die very quickly with something like a Jaina. And also it means that down the line you don't necessarily have to go for Ice Block later on as much. In this case, ROCCAT, they're just gonna keep on doing their rotations here. They still got that very slight lead on experience. Snitch can just blink away here, I think he's threatened.
Just getting away. And as the game goes on now, we're seeing these builds evolve a little bit more. So if we go over to Chen for a moment, we see Regen Master, Amplified Healing, Brewmaster's Stance. Brewmaster's Stance at level 7 is so powerful. You gain 20% movement speed when you're higher above 50% health. And you also gain, and when you're below 50% health, you gain yourself 40% HP regen. So it's very, very strong.
Absolutely. Seems like ROCCAT, they really want to go for a fight here. Bakery is already taking so much damage. He's getting chased down. He's almost going down here. Sportbilly is going to keep on chasing. Finally, he has to turn around.
And we'll just back on up here for a moment, as we do have still the static charge coming in here for Tassadar as well. So he'll be able to do a little bit of extra damage during these fights.
I think they wouldn't have had enough damage if he hadn't taken that. So I think it's a great choice here to go for this by the Tassadar.
Yeah, they've always got to be careful, because right now it's predominantly Jaina that's going to be doing the damage. Of course, there is always the opportunity here for ROCCAT to go into Judgment and try and get some big damage, in essence, going down from the Tyrael as well.
Didn't need to go for the deep shift here. Grubby's favorite spell.
Don't want to be doing that. Don't want to be doing that. And at the same time now, we'll just blink on out of there. Sportsbilly grabbing onto his opponent. Level 10 is about to approach here for ROCCAT though. And with that, could see them try and capitalize off it. It's been a slow, steady start with only 1 kill going over to ROCCAT so far.
Both teams really doing a good job of disengaging every single time. Not too many deaths just yet, but now might be the time. Dignitas, they get the full turn in here.
Nice, nicely done. That will be able to even things up for them. They do manage to get that route. And whoa, that's the smallest little Wraith War can out of there, but it was important to make sure he wasn't going to die off.
Nicely done, surviving this here. But now, with those Web Weavers coming in, Dignitas, they're looking to equalize that experience count. They're about to get level 10 here themselves. I don't think there's going to be an engagement before they do get it.
And over on the left-hand side for ROCCAT is March of the Black King, Avatar, Summon Water Elemental, Divine Palm. Soccer at the front there, tanking quite a bit of that damage for a moment here. Not every member of Dignitas is there. Chen's still down towards the bottom, so in essence it's a 4v4 at the moment, but they managed to get in themselves some towers. And it was Storm Earth and Fire picked by Chen, so if he gets in trouble, he can potentially pop that as long as the stuns aren't going to lock him down. It was actually Sanctification taken by Tyrael.
I don't think there's enough interrupts for Storm Earth and Fire to be properly stopped. Yeah. Oh my god, that was a great Divine Palm here.
Whoa, Sanctification! Wait a minute, that was wasted. No reason to be throwing that down after Divine Palm had already saved Zocca. But at the same time, lockdown on towards Sportsbilly. Gravity Lapse on towards him as well. Will it be enough? No, it will not. Sportsbilly gets away.
That was a huge panic Sanctification there by Tyrael. That was a little bit wasted. Now we see all the heroics right now are up for Dignitas, so they're just gonna reign over the map here for a few seconds. They even could have tried something like going and steal their opponent's bruisers. I don't think a boss was likely because I don't think they had time for that, but maybe even.
It's very interesting that they're going for Sanctification here. This is an extremely slow composition that they've got built here at the moment. As Hasuobs is going to take some big damage. It's all on him to stay alive. He is very important. Athero is going to try and go for the chase on him. Hasuobs is still alive here. Athero still looking for Hasuobs. Oh, and he ends up going down here. He tried to pop Storm Earth and Fire as it goes on to an 8-second cooldown. But Snitch now pushing on towards Sportsbilly. He's going to end up falling as well. A 1-for-1 trade at the moment.
Yeah, really nicely done here by ROCCAT with that save and a snipe, but Leoric did get cornered and sniped here at this point.
If Chen had just had a slither more health and got Storm Earth and Fire off there, then that could have been a completely changed and turned around on its head. But alas, that was not the case.
Do you think he could have chased a little bit more and got in the snipe and then maybe pulled back? That'd be the dream.
With Storm Earth and Fire, if it had have gone off, yeah, definitely. It's so much extra health for him to sustain, be past that fort. Very, very cool.
We have a lot of gems actually here on both teams right now, and already having turned in a whole bunch here. ROCCAT, they stand to try and complete the next payment potentially. Oh, Dignitas just turned in 28.
Not too bad, not too bad. Very, very even still here though, despite themselves losing 1-for-1 at that point in time. They've both kind of killed off enough towers to keep themselves even in the experience so far. And even Phoenix used to make sure those Ocean gems weren't going to get turned in there by Zocca.
It's just one more. It's just one more that ROCCAT needs here.
Yeah.
A ninja turn-in, man. That's all it takes.
Ninja turn-in. Where can it come from, though? Zocca has got quite a lot. Still trying to find it. I mean, he's the most sustainable character, or at least one of the most sustainable characters on their team. So it makes perfect sense why he's trying to get it in. Likewise, Sportsbilly. He's going to go to the other turning point and try himself. But Snitch, very much so aware of what's going on.
Yeah, he's gonna be interrupting this here. Chris at the bottom trying to sneak his way in there. Gonna get stunned, but I mean, on Tassadar, you're not really threatened here at this point.
So I'm expecting Relentless to come in for Chen as well here from the level 13 talent, but he actually doesn't go for Relentless. He goes for enough to share.
So Hasuobs might be able to complete this one here. I don't think there's anybody around to interrupt. Yep. That's going to be a full turn in here.
Nicely done, nicely done. This is a bit more unconventional, seeing enough to share come out at level 13, but then level 16 is where he really kind of gains momentum with the potential of going for pressure point later on a Chen like that, because you get a great slow on someone. If then they can get back onto the back line of Jaina, it's very, very powerful. But this is a big fight already occurring here. Soccer taking some damage. He's going to be able to get out, but Jaina. She is stuck in no man's land. She's going to get blown up. That's a great Void Prism to make sure she's not going to get any heals whatsoever. Brilliant orchestration there by them. Sanctification's going to be thrown down. March of the Black King on towards the right-hand side here for Sports Billy as he tries to end up getting away now. He is right in the thick of things. Palm's been thrown down, but it's not even going to activate here. He has to get away.
It was too early here to use that palm, and it feels like every single time we see one of these Void Prism today, decides whether a team wins or loses this fight.
Yeah.
And this was a pretty good one here.
That was an amazing little fight out there. Great Void Prism. Snitch has been really, really on point as of late about going with that. And at the moment, though, ROCCAT definitely not down and out. They are putting on some pressure towards their opponent's side now, getting themselves some towers. The fight's going to come in. That's a lot of damage already going down onto the Auric there at the front. He's going to ready to walk away and be totally fine.
I think ROCCAT is probably going to be able to disengage quite easily here, even though at the Orangel wasn't there. They could have maybe gone for the fight. So many heroics are missing here on both teams. It's probably better to wait, but ADRD gets caught here at the top and he's going to be sniped pretty much instantly. He drops so many gems as well here.
Yeah, that is a lot of gems going away from them. So don't know what ADRD was doing there. He was a little bit uncharacteristic to actually see him die off like that.
It's not even like he got caught by judgment, because there is no judgment.
No, he just died. He just died. But, well, for now, we're seeing Hasuobs and Sports Billy just kind of circling around this area, making sure that they have a good perimeter so that they can get the turn-ins going once again, making sure that even if they do die off in the next minute or so, they're not going to be dropping too many gems.
Oh, and ROCCAT, they do finally complete here their turn-in, so they're going to be pushing here with this, with the slight experience lead that they have here already. That's going to mean an earlier level 16 as well. And ideally for them, if they could get a good engagement here, it'd be great. ROCCAT, they've already impressed so much in this tournament here, and in map number 1 here against Dignitas, they still got all their 3/4 at the front. They barely lost some walls. They haven't taken too much siege damage. They've already killed 2/4. They are doing great.
We've seen ROCCAT play out this kind of composition a lot in the past, which has just been slow and steady. They're always very, very calculated about their compositions and how fast they want to play out the games. I would argue they are one of the slowest teams in professional Heroes of the Storm at the moment, but they do it with such brilliance. It's really, really fantastic to see how patient they are.
Oh, Leoric at the front here, getting shielded by Tassadar every time makes him even more I guess sustainable. He survives longer than he usually does, which is usually pretty long as well.
And now on a map like this, with some small choke points, Holy Ground being taken here at the level 16 talent for Tyrael means that they could choke up some people if an engagement goes awry for the other team. But it's all about Jaina still. Hasuobs gets blinked onto and takes a little bit of damage.
ROCCAT in a good control of this game here so far. They're going to do a risky move here, considering Dignitas. They just got level 16. The thing is, they've got Oracle to play with.
Don't face check. Ooh, there goes that little Moonfire in there very, very quickly to be able to spot that out. And also Sturmoth and Fire has already been popped here a bit more early in a fight than you would normally end up seeing it. But they're putting on a lot of pressure to Zocca here. Divine Palm has been used on towards Zocca, but it's not even going to pop. There were shields on him as well, so that's made sure it's not going to pop. But the turnaround there from the Sanctification to make sure that they could get good damage on the rebound.
Yeah, it was a little bit early here to use Divine Palm once again, but this time didn't quite come into play anyway, because ROCCAT was able to disengage in the long run, and now the turn-in. He's gonna be Dignitas's. They want to get those Web Weavers. Snitch even giving some vision here for a second. Oh, Shadowmere not quite able to start that camp here on time before the Web Weavers are summoned, so it's just gonna disappear here for now.
All right, and Snitch just gonna go and clean up some of these waves whilst these Web Weavers are descending as well. So at least they've got themselves their level 16 talents in. It's going to be backdraft again here for KL Fast. So they're really relying on him doing a lot of damage. Hardened Focus comes out here from Malfurion. We haven't really seen too much this tournament at all. But it's nice to see Hardened Focus in, just keeping himself alive and helping out his team with shorter cooldowns.
He hasn't really been targeted almost ever, except maybe in the start of the game. So if he can stay behind, out of dangerous reach, yeah, he's going to be able to do really well. I think especially since... Oh, wait a second. Oh, Sport BD was getting engaged too.
It's all right. So looking
gonna have
to
a
split
fight.
them up. Looking to split them up. Chris is the target there, but he's using his dimensional warp to get away from that position. He's totally okay, but at the same time, the fort has gone down. Still got to be very, very careful about this. So Web Weavers are still pushing forwards. Miss on the Stormbolt, though, from Zarmany. Trying to jump on towards Soccer. He's going to take a bit of damage there against these warriors, but Holy Ground is sealing out the rest of the team from actually getting on towards him to follow up with extra damage, but big, big fight going on. Archon has been popped here for Chris to try and do as much AoE damage in this small area he possibly can. There's the March of the Black King as well from Leoric. He's going to have to Wraith walk on away from there. Nobody's died off yet. Another Divine Palm, even with Sanctification being down during that, and Soccer eventually will end up going down.
And Palm used too early here once again on the TRL, which ends up being targeted right after it ended. TRL gets snipes, and Dignitas with a nice small win here. They're going to be able to push through this wall, take it out as well. I was going to say there is a really strong dynamic going between it's Malfurion and Zeratul, where if a fight's going badly, you just VP the opponent's team, and then use Tranquility. You just heal everybody back up, and then you engage again.
It's a really good analysis of the situation, actually.
It's been doing really well in a lot of games, and if used very well, it's just so strong. And right now, Dignitas, I think they're counting on this.
Yeah. In essence, I mean, as slow as Team ROCCAT's composition is with the amount of damage that they really are dedicating themselves to, that is also in turn trying to counter out that kind of slow pace to a fight. Just kind of the overall sustain of a Malfurion is actually doing extremely well against no proper burst damage from ROCCAT.
I think Shadowmare really needs to fix his Divine Palm though, because this can make or break a fight. And so far, like, he's missed the last three. He's used it way too early. You know, you were talking about it earlier. Bakery, he always uses it at the very last second. I've never seen Bakery use the Divine Palm and then the hero not be targeted and actually it going off. So
here we go once again. The jump on forwards onto Leoric there. He's going to Wraith walk out and be fine, and also tap well so he can keep himself nice and healed up whilst this fight goes on. At least the Web Weaver is going to die before it even gets to that keep, so that's good for them. Berserker's being targeted once again up towards the top, and we do wormhole away there, so we'll be fine.
it seems like ROCCAT, they struggle in fighting here every single time. They kind of have to disengage. They have a very sustainable composition, but they run out of steam eventually here in some of those fights. They don't do enough damage, really.
We see Zocca trying to divide and conquer again here with Holy Ground, looking to focus Bakery this time. They've turned their attention elsewhere. They blow up the Malfurion despite the Void Prism actually going down. This is a great opportunity for ROCCAT. They need to run with this. Once you've taken down the Malfurion, you can see Dignitas right now is trying to disengage, try and get away from these situations, but it's very, very difficult when they're completely locked down.
It's a 5-on-4. They're just going to chase them down here. ROCCAT, they want to kill everybody. Zarmon is going down on hit points. So is Chris. Chris gets blown up.
Oh, good little turnaround there from Dignitas, but I don't know if they're still going to be able to sustain throughout all of this. Storm Earth and Fire is about to dissipate here from Arthuro, so I'm not sure it can really continue on with the fact that there's so much healing here, but they actually managed to get Leoric on the other side. He drops huge amounts of gems there. Team Dignitas with the turnaround in this fight. Yes. Oh my god.
Shadowmare trying to pick up those gems, almost gets sniped here. He's going to have to pull back to safety. ADR, they actually kind of left behind here, but there's not... I mean, everything's on cooldown here for Hazuop, so going to be able to make it out of there somehow. Even though the mouth got blown up in the very start of this fight. Dignitas, they just kind of turn around and win it, and now they're on level 20 against just level 19. They're going for a turn-in.
It was so well calculated by Dignitas, because oftentimes, 9 times out of 10, when you lose your healer that early on in a fight and it's a 5v4, it's nigh on impossible to really actually get some good traction off that fight.
Let's be honest, usually you get wiped, and then you lose the game.
But they played that out extremely well. They used Storm Earth and Fire to their advantage to keep the backline preoccupied while they were trying to kind of gather their thoughts and look for focus fire on someone who overextended.
Such a good composition, it feels like, by Dignitas over ROCCATs. You know, ROCCATs, they are trying to survive for a long time, but that's just not winning them fight, because Dignitas, they can disengage if they have to. There is not enough lockdown. In particular, since there is no judgment, if you think about it. If there was judgment, at least when they were chasing, they could engage into somebody, but now ROCCATs, they find themselves in a position where winning the fight has just been so hard, and I feel like the score being, in terms of kills, being 4-5 doesn't even do justice to how well I think these fights have been going here for Dignitas.
Yeah, it's been very, very interesting. They've got themselves level 20. Are they heading up towards boss? This has to be a bait, surely. Everything has been revealed on the position there, so they're not going to walk in there too quickly, as Red Web Weavers are going to descend. And this is going to be interesting now, with level 20 also hitting here for Team ROCCAT. They're going to go double Hardened Shield, Storm Shield, Twilight Archon, and Blink across their heroes. Zocca gets caught there for a moment. He's still rooted. He could take even more damage than that.
Don't pump too early.
Don't pump. Exactly. You need to be able to save him. Don't want to go into a 5v4 situation. Still protesting on against this keep here. Webweaver's now about to drop right in front of the keep. This one is guaranteed to die unless something miraculous happens.
Yeah, these are going to do so good, especially since all of the lanes were pushed here. Oh my god, these Webweavers, they're just going to wreck every single lane. ROCCAT has to go elsewhere to defend here. The top keep's going to be exposed, but Dignitas, they move to the bottom position. They might want to try and get an engagement here.
Leoric's going to be the first fire focus here as Sportsbilly manages to get out there with his Wraith Walk, but still he has no proper defensive cooldowns himself. He's going to have to rely on Kharazim if he wants to keep in this fight. That he is, though. He's got Crushing Hope on towards Athero there, and there's goes March of the Black King on through. They're going to commit to this fight, but Leoric is going to be going very, very low. Likewise is Bakery. He keeps himself alive. Crushing Hope from Sportsbilly. He's still kept alive as well here, though. They have been rooted. Tranquility's been popped at the back. Leoric is going to end up falling down, and that is going to be a lot of damage. The chain bombs on towards ROCCAT. They have to disengage for now.
Yeah, Bakery's Tranquility healed his entire team here. Back to full hit points. Now ROCCAT are going to chase in their base.
And another root goes down, then Zocca manages to get out there with Elder Rune's Might, but Athero is on the chase. He's on the pursuit. More chain bombs once again onto the back lines here of ROCCAT as they're trying desperately to survive. They know that every single keep bar one has been knocked down. Tyrael's going to fall. Void Prism goes on, and Team Dignitas here are in the driving seat. They could focus down core if they really wanted to here. They're trying to for a moment, and I think they actually might end up getting hurt here.
ADRD gets blown up here.
Meridian's going to end up going down. They may have committed a little bit too much to trying to go for core. They should have probably gone for heroes. And now Athero, Bakery and Stitch are going to have to walk off with their tail between the legs, but they've got so much done.
Oh, Sportbilly is trying to catch up to Bakery here for some body block. Again, there is not that much lockdown, but if they can chase him here, there's a chance they might be able to kill him, which would be huge. Bakery bolts out of there.
Great moves, great moves.
Stitch might die.
It's always nice to see Blink being taken on Malfury and try and keep himself alive for as long as possible. Snitch still being chased, trying to body block him here. Sportsbilly tries to go for it. Another Blink across. Another Blink across here. Look at this disengage. They managed to get every single member across here in the 3.
Oh my god, catapults are on the core.
That could die.
ROCCAT didn't pay attention to this.
Are they basing?
Taking so much damage.
Okay, well the minions spawning kind of slows that down quite a lot, but they could deny them from basing for quite a while.
They're being prevented from going back, and Dignitas are gonna go straight for the boss. They know that right now ROCCAT are gonna have to go back home. Just go against this core.
Go for the core. Go for the core here. They're gonna go in once again. Zocca and Chris are here. Shield on towards the core. Not sure if that's gonna really matter though too much. Snitch keeps himself alive. Blinking back. Ashley Hasselhoff blows him up. Athero, they're gonna have to back off again. ROCCAT manages the defense.
They gave up on trying to get that boss here. I think they realized that they could die back at home if they committed too much to this. Zeratul being dead is going to give a nice edge here to ROCCAT potentially in some of those fights. Leoric gets caught and has to march up the Black King even before some kind of engagement happens here.
All Team Dignitas has to do is regroup and reposture to just go for the core. It's at 20% life. And ROCCAT now is in a really, really desperate situation. Leoric taking some damage here, and as we see Zeratul eventually coming back into this game, they could easily just walk away. ROCCAT has to do something desperate.
I'm not sure why Dignitas is playing it so aggressive, to be honest. With 3 keeps down, they could just play it slow, get some camps, go for a boss. One boss alone would finish the game if they were able to clear that.
I think they're worried that like a Webweaver push with ROCCAT's, just everything else could help, but it's very desperate, as I say.
Look at those creep waves. They're already across the map here, but in their own way, they're buying a little bit of time here right now. And ROCCAT is in so much trouble here.
Blue Webweaver's descending. They know that the boss was started for a moment, so all the fight has been navigated back up towards here, but they were just luring them in to try and get themselves a kill or two, but it's not going to happen before Zeratul is going to be back in the fight.
Winning a game when you have 0 keeps alive against 3 is one of the most difficult things here that you can have happen in this kind of game.
Webweavers is going to have to be the defense, and they need to get a good fight here. Do ROCCAT right now. Zocca's going to send himself forwards with Elder Rune's Might, but he's going to be locked down for a little moment there. There's the roots as well from Bakery to try and lock them all down. Phoenix is doing quite a bit of damage. Athero, though, still chasing on towards the back lines. Not really getting too much done with this Storm, Earth and Fire. Only zoning Hasu out for a moment.
He took so much damage, actually, that did absolutely nothing. These bombs, though, doing quite a bit themselves.
And you've got to have to be very, very careful still. Athero now pops out of his Storm, Earth and Fire, and Sportsbilly is very, very low here to try and kind of keep himself back into this fight. He needs to, though. Somehow they still need to do some work. Kyriel's going to end up falling. That's the first victim here of Team Dignitas. There's the Void Prism as well. They really want to try and blow Chris at the back. I don't think they're going to be able to get him. They focus their attentions on Shadowmare here for a moment. Zarmany now in a little bit of trouble, but there's the Divine Palm on towards Shadowmare. Zarmany has to jump on away there. Hasselhoff has got him very, very thick into the thick of things. He pops his ice block to keep himself alive. Shadowmare's going to be the sacrifice for it all. Muradin gets taken down by Hasselhoff. And the Web Weavers have made their way all the way up to the other side, but they're still losing more members. And they can just walk over for core if they get everything else.
Zarmany gets disintegrated, but behind this is just both Billy and Chris who are going to get killed here as well. Dignitas here with the winning move. Or what it could be, yeah. I mean, with this timers here, they can just finish it. They've done it here with this fight. After this long, drawn-out fight. That was one of the longest fights I think I've ever seen.
That was ridiculous, and I'm almost out of breath here, Todd, because that was absolutely epic. Now we're seeing them just marching across. They are going to be able to take core. They thought that they could be able to get it a few minutes ago, but the resilience of ROCCAT did show on through after the commitment there from Team Dignitas. And we will see them at least taking themselves a 1-0 lead in this best of 5 on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Good job to wrap it up there for Dignitas eventually.